Hi, my name is Paddy Hirsch. I'm a senior editor at Marketplace. Today I want to talk about hostile takeovers. We've seen a lot of merger and acquisition activity recently, companies buying each other. In some cases those takeovers are friendly, in other cases they are hostile. So what's the difference between the two? Well, let's have a look. Get up on the board first, hostile takeover. And we'll use a fictitious company for this example, and that fictitious company is Three Little Pigs Software. Okay, here we are, Three Little Pigs. And this is a software company that's been established since the 1960s and has become very successful over the years. They've made a lot of money, and they're now actually worth about $5 million. Okay, so they've done pretty well. Still small, but does pretty well. Large number of shareholders, all of whom we see here in the shadow of Three Little Pigs. And because they've been quite successful, they have, of course, attracted the attention of bigger players in the industry, specifically the big player, biggest player of all, Microhog. Okay, here's Microhog, and Microhog says, quite fancy a little bit of Three Little Pigs action. They've got a nice little business there. So Microhog's representative goes to Three Little Pigs and says, hey, we're really interested in buying you guys. How about we pay you, $5 million and buy you guys out? And the Three Little Pigs say no. And the Microhog says, okay, well, how about $6 million or maybe even $7 million? And Three Little Pigs say no. We like being an independent company. We like being on our own. This kind of in this little niche. Yes, we may be public, but we like to do things our way. We don't want to become part of you. And Microhog thinks to itself, okay, well that's the friendly part done. So maybe I'm going to have to turn hostile. And what does that mean? Yes, he turns into the big bad wolf. Here's the big bad wolf, complete with teeth. The big bad wolf goes hostile. How does he do that? Well, basically he has three options, okay? Three ways of going after this company in a hostile way. The first thing is to do a tender offer, okay? The second thing that he can do is have a proxy fight. And the third thing that he can do is have a creeping tender offer. We'll call that TO for short, okay? So there's three options. All right, so how do these work? Well, the tender offer basically is an announcement by Microhog that they're prepared to pay a certain amount for Three Little Pigs. So say they say, okay, we're prepared to offer $10 million, double the price. And this, what they're doing is they're making this offer over the heads of the board and making it direct to the shareholders. And the hope is that the shareholders will see this announcement and go, oh my God, we're going to double our money. And they'll rush across and en masse go and see the board and say, hey, at a shareholders meeting, you've got to respond to Microhog's offer. This is what we want to do. So that's the hope. The second thing they might do is a proxy fight. This is where they go to the biggest of the shareholders, all right? The big players here, the Three Little Pigs people. Not the board, of course, but the biggest sometimes on the board, but the biggest shareholders. And they'll say, look, we're prepared to double your money here. Come on. Get with it, convince the board, or maybe they go to individual members of the board. Come on, we'll double, maybe give you a bit of a sweetener, and convince the board to actually do the deal for $10 million. So what they're doing is they're essentially, making this approach by proxy, by the shareholders. And the third method is through a creeping tender offer, and that's where they go and they go into the market, into the public market, and try to buy up as many of the shares as they can at the market rate. Okay, so snap, 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 they want to get as many of these shares in as possible. The problem with all three of these methods is that they're pretty visible, especially the third method. And Three Little Pigs Software is going to know very, very quickly, whether or not they've got this hostile takeover and whether or not somebody's actually trying to get in there and get their hands on the company without the permission, or the sanction of the board. So they can actually fight a rearguard action. They can put they can put into place these problems for a hostile buying company. Like, for example, putting a poison pill in there, which gives shareholders rights that they wouldn't otherwise have, that might be difficult for the company to deal for the acquiring company to deal with. And there are all sorts of rearguard actions that they can take with all sorts of cool exotic names, like the macaroni defense and the lobster trap and killer bees and all these kind of things. But the real problem is, and obviously this is to protect Three Little Pigs and make them less attractive to a buyer. But the biggest problem if you are involved in a hostile takeover is not necessarily these restrictions that might be put in place by the board of Three Little Pigs. It's the fact that you can't get access to real information about the company. When there's a friendly takeover, if Microhog came to Three Little Pigs as a friendly company and they were doing a friendly deal, Microhog would get access to all of Three Little Pigs' books. It would be able to look into every single nook and cranny in every corner of the company and see how the company operated and see if there were any problems. In a hostile takeover, the only information they have access to is the information that's public, okay? It's the stuff that's with the SEC or the stuff that's out in the newspapers. That's all they get access to. They don't get to poke around the company at all. And of course, that's a big problem because they may buy the company, they may find out that it doesn't operate as well as they thought it did. They may in fact be buying a pig in a poke, and that's going to leave Microhog or any other acquiring company very badly needing a drink.